But we are talking about running of a different sort today.
Exactly.
We are talking about a voter registration drive that is happening live right now, folks, down at the Midtown Bar and Grill. Come on down. It is 415 West Gray. 415 West Gray, just off of Taft. We are going to be live all day today on the Edge Radio Network, but I'm super duper excited because we have with us a gentleman that has already started moving and shaking in this city. and I love it when that happens. Edward Pollard, City Councilman Edward Pollard is joining us. And it is a pleasure to have you here, sir. You have been, as you got appointed, you had a vision for what you wanted to do. And you wasted no time, I understand, in getting to it.
I mean, well, welcome.
Yeah, there we go. By the way, we have a live studio audience that are quiet as church mice. So let's get some energy going, right?
Yeah, Edward Pollard, Houston City Council member for District J, which is Southwest Houston. But yeah, I don't take my office for granted. It's a 4-year term. You don't know if you're going to get elected again, so I told myself I'm going to make the most of these 4 years while I'm in office.
Nice. Yes. Outstanding. So, and that started right in January. So it might have been a little bit of a, like for everybody else, it was like this kind of weird dystopia that took place because 1 minute life was normal, 2020, new decade, new city councilman, and then 2 months in, all of a sudden, what were your thoughts when everything started going south like that?
You come into office having a vision and a blueprint of what you want to do for your community and for your district, and then out of nowhere you get hit with COVID-19. And it, if you would have asked me in January about the coronavirus, I wouldn't have known much about it.
Right.
And now our daily routines are surrounded with doing things for COVID-19. So a lot of our projects and initiatives that we have in the community are surrounded around the coronavirus. And so it's definitely taken over everything that we do. Even the way that we meet for city council, we do it virtually now. And we have a lot of processes and protocols that we must follow. And all of it's because of the virus. And so it's a new world for sure.
Yes. So in addition to the coronavirus, then we saw how everything, the trajectory of the world really shifted with the George Floyd murder.
Yeah.
And obviously that triggered a domino effect across the United States. Houston seemed to bear the blunt of that fairly well, but what was it like from the inside in that space?
Well, yeah, I mean, social justice is a huge issue at City Hall. I think the benefit for Houstonians is we are in the most diverse city in the entire country. And so we kind of know how to coexist with other cultures, other backgrounds, other faiths. And so it's a little different than some of the other cities that you may see on your national media. But here in Houston, we still have our issues as well. And we go back and forth with the police chief and the police department about reforms that we want to see. The mayor's actually put together a task force that should be coming out with recommendations in a week or so regarding police reforms that we'll have here in the city. Myself, along with some of the other Black council members, wrote the mayor a letter several weeks ago highlighting the need for a new independent police oversight board, as well as 25 specific recommendations that we think could bring meaningful policy change regarding police to the city.
Outstanding.
Nice.
Wow. Are we liking that? Wow. I love that because this idea of police reform is educating police officers and helping them to understand, especially, and then this is personal for, I would say, all three of us on this panel of people of color, that when an officer walks up behind you and those lights are flashing, there is a deeper breath you take than perhaps someone that is melanated, right?
For sure.
It's not even flashing. Just as soon as you see someone, I'm sure that we're going to have a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder and a lot of issues after this.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we've all had our own experiences with police officers. We probably all have a story that we could tell. I know I do. And it's just unfortunate that our community and us as a people, we've been profiled and stereotyped as a certain way. Sometimes law enforcement and society as a whole looks at us as a threat. And that's just unfair because there's no basis in that. And so what we want to do with police reform is really just hold officers accountable and make sure that we have more transparency in the process. I don't think any of us are anti-police, but we're anti-bad police. And so what we want to do is put protocols and procedures in place to make sure that we are holding the bad apples accountable so that they won't continue to put a stain on our department.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, especially saying we're not anti-police.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a big distinction. This notion that, you know, if you're calling for some reform, you're somehow anti-police. You know, my brother's a police officer. I love him dearly. And the idea that his life is endangered because we have these sentiments that are starting to grow is tragic. Yeah. But to your point, Councilman, if you have a solid procedure and an understanding that the police will follow, and I'm sure some of those 25 initiatives that you mentioned are there a few of them that you can just point out that are common sense stuff or things that we should be thinking
Well, one
about?
of the things that I brought forth was an amendment through our budget process that's going to allow for the city to have an online dashboard where civilians can go and file complaints online about police misconduct. You'll also be able to track other complaints, what area of town it happened, the race of the officer, the race of the one charged, demographics, age, everything. So you can start to track what's going on in the city. We also want the dashboard to house the police policy, their general orders. We want to know what the law is, what you can and what you cannot do. And so that we can educate ourselves, because a lot of times there are a lot of assumptions out there, what you can and you cannot do, or what a police officer is allowed to do. So we want to be as transparent with the public as possible and have them have access to an online database that allows them to go on there and see that in real time.
Wow. Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Nice. Because, you know, I've heard it said more than once that we've had situations where a young black man would say, well, why did you stop me? Or can I ask why you stopped me? And that triggers a series of very aggressive moves from certain officers.
Yeah.
But technically, they should be able to ask why.
For sure. And that's one of the things we put in our letter. One of the things we put is if you ask an officer who they are, why they're being stopped, they must give you their name, they must give you the department or the division that they're out of, and they must tell you why you're being stopped. Another thing that we put in the letter was police officers will not be allowed to tell a civilian that they can't use their cell phone at the time of the stop as well. Not only the person being detained, but also the other civilians that are on the scene. Because what we found is that it's not the body cams per se all the time that gives us a view of what's going on. It's people's cell phone footage that comes in.
Yes.
And so we want to make sure that the public is protected to know that they can pull out their cell phone anytime that they see an incident and start recording without feeling as if their rights are infringed on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, man, the audience is loving you, and and I have to. I see those smiles behind the masks. I see the thumbs up.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Councilman Pollard, with regard to the voting and the empowerment of young people, and how we can really create that dialogue. What conversations are being had out there? What do you think we can do to empower young people to get them engaged?
Well, when I talk to young people, especially about voting and being engaged in the political process, you know, I break it down in very simple terms. If you were to watch elementary school kids at recess playing basketball, they would be all over the place. They would be traveling, double dribble, you know, just throwing the ball here and there, because they don't know the rules.
Yes.
Okay. But as they get older and mature and understand the game, they start to learn the rules. It becomes more organized. Now they have schemes. Now they have defenses. Now they know what strategy to put in place to score the basket or to play defense. And so I tell people all the time that politicians make the laws. The laws are the rules of life. And if you don't understand the rules of life, you're going to look like the elementary kids at recess. They're just scrambling around, all unorganized. They want to score, but they don't know how, right? So you have to know the rules of the game. And if the politicians make the laws, then you need to know who your politicians are.
Right.
So this is an interesting thing that you can probably go to your church, or, you know, if you're at a family reunion or a get together, you ask people that are around you, tell me who your school board trustee is. Tell me who your state representative is. Tell me who your county commissioner is. Tell me who your city council member is. Tell me who your congressman. If the answers are I don't know, which for most people it will be I don't know, then you already are behind the ball because you don't know who's making the laws for your community. You know, parents talk about I looked at my child's textbook and it had, you know, some history in there that wasn't accurate, especially when it comes to slavery. Well, who's your school board trustee? You don't know who's writing these books, right? You're just going to the poll and you're just voting blanket based on maybe a D or R next to their name, but you don't know who these people are. So you have to educate your people or your friends and your family about who is representing them. And so for everyone listening, what you can do is go on Google and just type in who represents me, and you'll see a link that comes up that you can go on the website and it'll ask you for your address. When you put your address in, it's going to give you all the list of all the people who represent you for your area. Then just go on their websites and check them out and see if they have your best interest. If they do, great, vote them back in. If they don't, find somebody else.
Amen. Well, that's
a good answer for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because we were talking about, because voting is so crucial right now. And so how would, like, someone who's young saying, okay, well, I want to get involved. What are the first steps other than knowing who's representing me? You know, do you know any organizations that they can necessarily join so that way they can start to get caught, you know, involved?
I tell people all the time that, you know, in this information age that we are now, with cell phones, you have access to information at your fingertips. So you just have to ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What do you want to learn about? You can go online right now and you can type in, you know, let's say Houston Young Democrat, right? Just type that in the Google box. You're gonna see websites come up for different organizations that trigger that search.
Right.
And you can click on them and see, okay, is this something I want to be involved in? With hashtags on social media, you can put something like Houston Votes or Black Houstonians Vote, whatever. Just come up, just try different hashtags, go on social media, see what comes up. And whatever your passions or interests are, you'll be able to scroll and see if there's something that catches your attention and just try to become involved. Shoot them a DM, show up to a meeting, you know. But you got to educate yourself. You can't expect government or politicians to do all the work. Right, you got to meet people halfway, and I think if we do that, then we'll push the ball down the field.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
You guys like that? Wow, that's outstanding. So I'll tell you what, Councilman Pollard, there's more I want to unpack.
Okay.
so are you okay with another 15-minute segment with us?
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
it.
so folks, you are listening to the Edge Radio Network here at Midtown Bar and Grill. We are live at 415 West Gray. We want to invite you all to come out for voting. Voter registration is happening right now live. You guys, if you are anywhere in the area, it's a beautiful, beautiful day, but there's going to be a live jazz band later. There's going to be a happy hour. There's an art show. There's all sorts of stuff going on. So we want to invite you to come out to 415 West Gray, voter registration drive. Folks, you're listening to the Edge Radio Network. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will continue our conversation with Councilman Edward Pollard. Back in a moment. Thanks.